Well, turning now to higher education in America. A new report by Parents Defending Education reveals China is now funding multiple public schools here in the U.S. to the tune of $17 million. The money is funneled through Confucius Institutes and other cultural and language programs. NewsNation correspondent Emily Finn is live in studio with us tonight. Emily, concerning because Republicans are now probing these donations.
Nick, that's absolutely right. Our lawmakers on Capitol Hill are urging the Education Department to take a closer look at these so-called little red classrooms, especially now with American students gearing up to go back to school in the next couple of weeks. We spoke with a former Defense Intelligence Agency officer who tells us that this is just the latest example of the CCP trying to push their agenda on the U.S.
Xi Jinping believes that China will not be stopped from imposing its will and ideology onto American citizens.
According to Parents Defending Education's newly released Little Red Classrooms report, the Chinese Communist Party has invested $17 million into K-12 schools across the U.S. over the past 14 years through so-called Confucius Institutes. While these Confucius Institutes say their goal is to, quote, teach Chinese language and culture, Parents Defending Education claims the purpose is really to further the Chinese Communist Party's global influence.
It provides an opportunity for the teachers or those who work with them to spot who might be a good candidate down the road or who might be sympathetic to their cause and try and shape the next generation that way.
Confucius Institute programs have been traced to 143 school districts in 34 states. They have been a concern for our nation's lawmakers for years. Under former President Trump's administration, the State Department designated Confucius Institutes as a foreign mission. Former intelligence officer Matt Shoemaker says while many of these programs have shut down in recent years, infiltrating K-12 schools appears to be a new tactic from the CCP.
The Chinese seem to have then changed the parameters of the debate and moved on towards grade schools in particular. So it tells me that the Chinese are incredibly resourceful in what they're doing, and they seem to have a real keen interest in going after schools to try and shape the next generation of Americans.
But perhaps most concerning to Shoemaker is the threat to our national security, with 20 of the school districts near U.S. military bases. Republican Congressman Jim Banks is now urging the Education Department to take action, sending a letter to Secretary Miguel Cardona saying these programs have no place in our country, let alone our classrooms, and demanding a full audit of all K-12 funding across the country. Shoemaker tells NewsNation it's time for parents and school officials to get involved as the federal government investigates these concerning programs.
I would absolutely love to see parents getting more involved and demanding answers for who was the one that determined, who in the school board thought that this was a good idea and allowed this to happen. The second thing is, though, from a larger perspective, is that this is a campaign for information, and it's going to come from Washington, from the high-level officials to publicly push back, because without the public pushback, the Chinese are just going to keep pushing forward, all speed ahead.
And Nick, it's important to note the CCP's efforts to invest in schools near military bases is just one example of initiatives our lawmakers worry could be fronts for potential spying. NewsNation has been extensively covering China's efforts to buy up American farmlands near military bases as well, with the project to build a corn mill near the Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota ultimately getting shut down after pushback from the local community, Nick.
Emily, it's clear that it will be community involvement that spurs action from our political leaders. Emily, thank you so much.